Hello and welcome to our podcast on characterization. This is another important term to know and style of understanding literature and how authors use those characters to share ideas and to tell stories. So let's go ahead and jump right in and figure out what we're talking about. So characters, they are the people, the elements, the animals, the whatever are used to tell the author's story. And so we need them to progress plot. We need them to interact to tell the story. And the big question is always, why do authors create such varied characters? And just like any other literary term, all of literature is designed to help us understand this person, this author's comment on being human, this author's comment on humanity, which is what we call the theme. And so as we are reading and noticing, hey, that character stays the same throughout the whole book, or hey, that character seems to change a little bit, or hey, that character, started off this way and then completely reverses him or herself. The author is using those characters and their development and changes to expose their own theme. What are they trying to teach us as authors through this text? And one way they can hint at that and allude to that and give us interpretive moments to that theme is through how characters develop, change, grow, things like that. And so, as always, our study of characters helps us understand what the author's trying to say about life, which is the theme, the point of the text. And so, most times authors aren't going to just come out and say, this character's name is Johnny. He is exactly this tall. He wears this type of clothing. He is smart, except in this situation. He is brilliant, except in this situation. He is a little funny, and this is when he's funny. They hint at things and make us as readers infer. And we get hints and clues about them, but throughout the novel or short story, we have to infer more about them. And then our ideas about that character then help us to understand what the author is saying about life through them. And so there are two ways that authors tend to create character. One is through group membership, and the other is through individual information about that character. And so let's go ahead and take a look at each one in a little bit more depth. So the first idea is to have us as readers see the character as part of a group. And then we as readers start to make judgments about that character based upon what group we think they belong to. And if we can try and attach them to a group that we've already established in our background knowledge, we tend to say, okay, well, that group thinks this. That group tends to believe this. Therefore, this one character I'm seeing must follow that. So here's an example of what we mean. If we look at a character and we're saying, okay, man, that character seems a little nerdy. Okay, so what do I know about nerds? Whatever that means to me. Okay, well, nerds don't know how to be cool. And if this guy's a nerd, then, oh man, that character doesn't know what cool is. Or, this character is a cheerleader. Well, my stereotype of the cheerleading group is that they're all airheads and they're not real smart. My initial interpretation of this character is then, well, she's a cheerleader, therefore she can't be very smart because the group of cheerleaders isn't very smart. And then you can kind of fill in your blank. He must be a certain way because all of whatever that group are a certain way. And so absolutely, we are stereotyping. We're trying to, give the clues that the author gives us and say, this character seems to fit into this major group. Well, the stereotype of this group is whatever it is. But then we know there are exceptions to every single rule. And so I think when you look at that interpretive level, you say, okay, well, wait a second. This character is following the stereotypes of the group that he or she belongs in. What's the author saying about life because someone follows the stereotypes? Or, that character seems to be challenging them. Here's a cheerleader that's breaking the rules, that's, being smart, that's being a leader, that's being, whatever the anti-stereotype is. So then we have to ask ourselves at that interpretive level, what's the author trying to say about humankind through this character who's breaking the rules of that stereotype. And so it's not only just identifying the character and saying, that person is a computer person. And then, that person belongs to the group of, computer people. That person is either following or not following the stereotypes. And then that fourth step, what does the author mean by that? What are they trying to teach us about life through this character? That's the point of characterization. And so the other way we can start to develop character ideas is through the idea of individuating information. And so, whereas the other way was to look at it and go, the group believes this, therefore the individual I'm looking at must believe the same thing as that group. This is kind of looking at the individual first and then trying to figure out which group they belong to based on certain things. For example, we see a character and the author says, this character wears a suit and tie to work every single day. So as an individual, we say, wears suit and tie. Well, what's that mean? Oh, you know what? He fits into the group now of businessmen. And then you go through that stereotyping of the group. Well, if he's a businessman, we know that he is conservative. We know that he doesn't like change, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the stereotype is in your background knowledge. I know another example on there, you see a character who's wearing all black. Oh, in my world, anybody I see who wears black has to be in all theater classes, because all the kids in theater class wear black. And so, again, we're stereotyping again, but this time we're looking at it as the individual first and trying to draw group conclusions based on what we see. And as always, we have to ask ourselves, are there exceptions? Absolutely. Just because we see somebody who has Nike running shorts on doesn't necessarily make them a superstar athlete. They could be wearing that because that was the only thing that was clean. That was, their fashion statement for the day. It was a dare, paying them to wear them. I mean, who knows? But as readers, we have to pick up on two things. The group we think that they belong to and what groups, stereotypes are there, but then also the individuating things about them. Okay, this person wears glasses. Ooh, does that mean they're super smart because all people with glasses are smart? And so we have to start paying attention to those details as we're reading to try and figure out more about this character. And then ultimately, the point of all of this is not to just lump them into a category and say, she's wearing athletic shorts, therefore she's an athlete. The point is, A, identify and pay attention to the detail, and then B, ask ourselves at that interpretive level, so what? So what that this character is wearing a certain thing? What's the author trying to teach us through costuming or through that character? And how does that reveal the theme of this text? That is always going to be the point of characterization. And so when we get back into class, we're going to do some practicing with these and this idea of trying to look at characters and say, which group do they belong to and do they follow the stereotypes or not? And also paying attention to individuating details. What does this character say? Does that put them into a group or does that make them an individual? What does this character wear? What do characters say about them? That kind of stuff. And so as we continue our journey through literary terms, characterization is a big one because authors use characters to tell their story, but most importantly, they use those characters and the changes and the groups that they belong to and how they behave and talk and things like that. They use those characters to reveal the theme of the text. And as always, the theme is the point, the lesson, the moral. What is the author trying to say? And so rather than just come out and say,
I can make you.
They use the characters to develop and share that author's idea. So as always, if you have any questions, bring those into class, take some good notes on all of this, and we will start to practice this immediately. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.